What's going on, everybody? We are back with episode 5 of Bloodline Basketball. We have just now finished the draft a couple weeks ago, and now we are going to start talking about all the crazy free agency stuff that's been happening with trades, LeBron. You could talk about the Giannis trade since you're a Bucks fan, and we'll pretty much go through all like the major or like what we think could be game-changing transactions that happened so far. We will start with the Bucks trade with Giannis. If you just want to quickly go over that from your perspective as a Bucks fan.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think uh, it was good for both groups. I think we're still living in this weird era where people are expecting, like, oh, well, if Mikal Bridges got 5 first-round picks, then got to be at least 8 or 9 for Giannis, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, in theory, but it's like it's years later. There's a new CBA. The approach to picks and team building, big contracts and things like that in general have changed, and so I think the Bucks got a pretty good haul. Um, Multiple first round picks, Jaquez, who I really do think is a good. I know he was in the 6 man running last year, but I think he could potentially be thrust into that starting lineup role. And like me personally, like I'd rather him start than Kuzma. Not necessarily because I think he's like much better than Kuzma or anything like that, but it's just we're in a rebuild. Let's improve. Let's play our young guys. There's not really anything Kuzma can bring to this organization. Much like when he was on the Wizards, there's not a lot he can bring to an organization that isn't really looking for a guy to, bring wins. And I'm not saying that's ultimately what he is, but I like the Bucks haul. I think there's still potential to reroute Hero if they don't want to keep him as one of the cornerstone pieces because he's a guy that demands shots. So if they want to go for a full rebuild and put the ball in, Ryan Rollins, AJ Green, the draft picks now, Ament, Burries. If they want to put the ball in their hands, I don't think we need Hero. But if he sticks around, I'm happy for it. So I think it was a good job. I think it was a good trade for
All
both
right.
teams.
Yeah. Now we'll get into not the biggest one. We'll get into the bigger ones a little later. Vucevic signing a 1 year deal back to the Orlando. Now I know that we had talked about Orlando kind of needing like a star earlier this year when they lost in the first round, kind of needing like a star, a really good role player to really help them. But I also feel like they didn't really have a big. I forgot who their big was this year. Um, but now they have
Well,
Vucevic back.
they got Goga Batadze
That's right.
down there, but they don't have a big per se. Obviously, they just waived John Isaac. He didn't play much either. Um, but Batadze being their main big, and obviously you still got Mo Wagner, but he was hurt for a large part as well. Um, yeah.
Actually, I'm like 60% sure that Mo Wagner signed to Brooklyn
Oh, did he?
for like a 2-3 year deal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, apologies
Um,
there. I can't say I was fully up to date on the Mo Wagner signing.
yeah. So I feel like that this, him being back in Orlando, it's good. I feel like the people of Orlando are excited to see him back on the team because he was one of their best players when he was there. I mean, obviously not now. He's not going to be that good compared to everybody else, but I feel like he's a true good big man that they really need and a solid role player that could bring them maybe to the second, third round of the playoffs. But you never know.
I think Orlando is really lacking a guy who can break defenders down off of the dribble and penetrate a little bit. They have these surrounding pieces. I think Paulo is going to have a bounce back year. Like, I don't expect him to have as much of a struggle next season as he did. Honestly, I think the yips got to him. But he's had a season off. It's not like people are hating on him every day online. I do expect a bounce back from him. But when you get back into the finals, as good as Suggs is on defense, I think Anthony Black, guys like that, are good fill in players. they have their offense was so abysmal because you can only move the ball so much before it's like, hey, we're moving it to guys who cannot break down their defender over and
Yeah.
over again. Like they
Hmm.
need a dynamic guard that is going to free up shots for everyone else.
Yeah. Harden did get waived, so he could, or he declined his option. So that could kind of be something that the Magic could look towards for like a guard like you said that could break down the defender. Um, but we'll go into Paul George, Jaylen Brown. Um, I, I obviously I was expecting Jaylen Brown to get traded, not to a rivalry team that they just lost to in the playoffs. Um, Kind of weird. I can't really decide who like really won this trade because I feel like the Sixers they want to win now because they have Maxey, they have Edgecombe, they have Embiid, not Jaylen Brown, and they also signed Anthony Simons to a couple years, I think. So I think it's very clear that they want to win now and they think they have enough to win now. Um, and I think they do. I think it really just depends on how many games Embiid plays. Can he stay healthy? And in the playoffs, will he collapse or play like, um, you know, 2023, 2024 Embiid, who was one of the most dominant bigs in the past 10 years or so? Um, yeah, that's all I have to really say for now.
I mean, yeah. So that's the thing is like the question is always going to be health with the Sixers because Embiid's their cornerstone. He's their best player. Um, I think I think Jaylen Brown is twice the player Paul George is right now. Um, I think the Sixers won this deal big time, and I know Jaylen Brown's contract is enormous. Um, but Jaylen Brown was Finals MVP, second team All NBA. Was he first team All NBA this season? I think he was second. I
I
think he was
think
second
he
team
might
All
have been
NBA,
first. I don't know.
but he might have been first team All NBA. I could be wrong. Either way, All NBA selection. Um, he is a both sides of the floor player, and I know that that's what Paul George has been for a large part of his career. That's not what current Paul George is. And current Paul George has a max contract. Now, I know Jaylen Brown's contract is larger, but only two first round picks in coming back. I know the initial ask was Edgecombe, Paul George, and I think 3 or 4 first round picks for Jaylen Brown. And then all of a sudden, the Celtics decided to go full analytics, which I hope to God hurts their program for a long time, because I just think it is a scenario where like Brad Stevens has been a guy his entire career who has been able to identify talent, build teams, and build a winning organization. And ever since the switch from head coaching to being in the front office, granted the Celtics won a championship. I'm not saying, but I just think in the last couple of years they have identified that like they're running the Celtics like it's an accounting firm. And I just don't think that that's good for the Celtics organization. Beyond that, I don't think it's good for basketball. Moneyball is not the way to win everything. What Moneyball was a team who had no talent or money. And so they had to figure out how to game around that to be like, how can we be competitive when we have nothing? Well, the Celtics aren't that. And most NBA organizations aren't that, just by the way the league is run. And so this idea that a team 2 years removed from winning a championship with a superstar roster, I mean, they don't even need to trade Jaylen Brown. They could simply run it back. And so like this career shifting, organization changing trade that I genuinely don't think brought them back anything helpful, it doesn't make any sense to me. Now, if Hugo Gonzalez becomes the next MVP, then I'll eat my words and you can say, Jackson, you're an idiot. But I just don't see it. I don't care what the advanced stats say. I don't care what the analytics say. When it comes down to it, and this dude's got Amen or Osar Thompson in his jersey, he's not going to be the playmaker that Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum is. I'm sorry. Like, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's a bet I'm very willing to take.
Yeah, I was about to throw in that the Celtics got two first round picks and two second round picks. If we're grading like each team's like like how well they got back and what they traded for and whatever from F to S, I would say Brown is probably like an A to Philly, and I would say Paul George is like a high, or the what the Sixers got is like a mid to high B, because I mean it's Paul George. Is he like obviously as good as he was? No, but it's still Paul George. He's a good vet, and they have picks for the future. Um, I think it's I don't remember what year the picks were, but obviously some of the drafts coming up in the next couple of years are really going to probably be really good. Um, so I think it really obviously all depends, kind of like with the Paul George trade was to the Clippers, how it ended up turning into Shea going to the Thunder, um, Chet, and all those guys who ended up winning a ring last year. Um, so it really all depends on how the Celtics do these picks. I think that'll really tell. Um, and speaking of the Celtics and how they won the championship a couple years ago, um, I, I think their biggest issue is a big man, and which Porzingis was, and now we'll go to Porzingis re-signing with the Warriors, and then we'll kind of go into LeBron from there.
Well,
So
just one last thing on that. That's the other thing is so they have Mitchell Robinson now that the Celtics just signed. So I think it was a 3-year, $54 million deal or something like that. So that doesn't make sense to me either because now you're for the last however many years you've been a 3-point shooting team with a stretch big, and then you switch everything. So now you have not as much of a secondary creation outside of Jason Tatum. No stretch big. Mitchell Robinson cannot do anything if he is not physically touching the rim. And another guy who, if you're in the playoffs, up until like this Spurs series this year, Mitchell Robinson's been pretty much unplayable because he shoots 6% from the free throw line. And so I also like this just seems like as an entire organization, they decided we're doing an enormous 180 and we're doing everything different just at the drop of a hat. And you listen to the Brad Stevens press conference and he's like, well, I mean, we just feel like our analytics tell us like the way the NBA is headed in this new CBA, like this is the right move. And it's just like, look, dude, you don't have access to information that different than any other fan has access to. Like we can go look up. I'm sure you got some sort of advanced scientifics and analytics and whatnot. But it's like in general, we're all looking at the same information, and everyone thinks this is a stupid ass trade. You can go
um,
sit there and justify it all you want. It's stupid.
yeah, all right. Now since we were talking about Porzingis, Warriors re-sign him to I think a 2-year deal, 1 2 year deal. Um, Obviously it's Porzingis. He's one of the better uh, stretch fives in the league. Um, I think uh, he was decent last year on the Warriors. Um, I feel like everything depends on I feel like if the Warriors get LeBron, which we'll get into later, this could be a super team with Curry, Butler, LeBron, and Porzingis.
I don't
Um,
know, man. The more I think about it, I'm like, Porzingis is another guy. He's like, is he going to be healthy? Or is he going to play 35 games again? And like, I hope he's healthy.
yeah,
But Draymond Green isn't the defender Draymond Green was. He's a great defender. He's not what he was. Steph isn't even necessarily what he was. He's excellent, but he's not even Steph from 2024.
Yeah.
Like this, and LeBron, look, I'll never fold on LeBron, but like he's not going to give you 30, 15, and 9, in the playoffs like you're used to. So it would have to be not only a team effort, it'd have to be a team effort of health. And then when you're so top heavy like that, I also am like, I know he's been there for a while. I know these guys get better. I still don't really trust Moody and Pods to be like the sixth and seventh man off the bench.
Hmm.
You're not going to re-sign Kevon Looney. So the Memphis Grizzlies just offered Quentin Post a 3-year, $30 million deal. And I think they did that essentially as a big, like, we dare you to match it to the Warriors, who probably will have to match it. So I just, like, I don't know, man. I think Bron's going to end up back on the Cavs. Like, especially with Harden declining the option. Like
Yeah.
that would give them. They could re-sign Harden. I don't honestly know that LeBron would want to play with Harden, so I could see Harden declining the option, getting a longer extension from another team, and them finding another guy who's like, "Hey, give me 2 years. Let's see if we can win it. If we can't win it, Bron's retiring, and you can figure out what you want to do after that."
Yeah. I'm kind of stuck on where LeBron's gonna go. Everybody's saying the Warriors, the Cavs. Obviously, it's been cut down to I think 8 teams. I think by
I
LeBron's
think
agent.
it's I think it's 6 now.
I know it's the Spurs, the Warriors, the Cavs. I think the Heat are still in that.
The Nugs are in there.
The Nuggets. Oh, let me look.
I think it's Cavs, Heat, Nugs, Wolves, Warriors, Spurs.
Um, yeah, it seems that it's those few.
And if
Um,
I him, I'm like, I mean, it doesn't even really matter ultimately. I just think I don't think the Cavs can win. Like if the big thing is about being a contender, I truly and genuinely do not think the Cavs are a contender. Now, if you want to go there because you want a reunion of just retiring in Cleveland, by all means, there's nothing wrong with that. But if this whole thing is about like genuinely wanting to play championship basketball, I don't think they. I know it's the East, but I don't think that they can win. Like I don't think Mitchell can be the best player on a winning team. I think that's that like because when he plays, I just think like he's after his man.
yeah,
Like every year since he's been in pretty much the league, it's like, oh, look at his playoff numbers. 37-7, or I don't know exactly, 34-6, or whatever the case may be. And it's like and it comes with a lot of losing. And he's been on good teams that should be better. Now I'm not saying that it's like he's been on these like superstar front runners, but the way he plays, it feels like he's like clip farming in the playoffs. Like I don't need everything to be this like weird swim move thing that you invented over guys. Like, how about you go get some efficient buckets, and like a couple more assists would be nice.
yeah,
Like I don't think Braun going to the Cavs I don't think that's a contending team unless he somehow brings another awesome player with them. And I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I feel like there's one team that like 1 or 2 teams that I'm thinking right now that LeBron joins, they have a championship shot. I think the Nuggets and obviously the Spurs. I feel like
I
those.
think if he goes to the Spurs, you're winning the championship and he retires. Like that team is excellent. What they didn't have was just an old Grizzly vet. I mean, they had Harrison Barnes, but he'd be essentially replacing Harrison Barnes at that power forward spot. And they just needed a guy who's like, hey, man, couple bad trips down. Maybe Wemby from half court isn't the best shot here. Like, can I just go bully a guy and get a layup real quick? Like, a couple of those, a couple of him just being like, "Hey, here's what they're running. I've already scouted them, for the past 15 years. Here's how we're gonna beat that." Like, you know what I'm saying? Just an older dude in there who's, I mean, shit. Mitch Johnson is still a young coach as far as head coaches go in the league. And I know that and also they just signed,
Tobias Harris.
they signed Tobias Harris, which is going to help. But on top of it, who's the offensive assistant that they just signed? I forget who. And I think they signed him basically as a statement of like, hey, Mitch, you're gonna listen to what this guy says, or you're not gonna be coaching anymore. Because what you did in the finals last year showed a little bit of cluelessness. But because we're the Spurs and we run such a tip-top organization and we do things the right way, and we don't want any rumors of anything, we're just going to hire the guy that we think should run the offense, and you continue to do a great job on defense, and then they'll be fine. Like, whether or not LeBron goes, I think the Spurs might win it next year.
The
But
Spurs signed Billy Donovan.
that's it, Billy Donovan. That's who it was. And
He's a
I was
Hall of
like,
Fame.
that's basically like a, hey, Mitch, this is who should be coaching the team. But we know you were brought up under Pop, and we're not going to fire you right now. So just why don't you listen to what this guy has to say? Like, and that's fine. Like, I don't think Mitch should have been fired either. You know what I'm saying? Like, most of what he did was coach a great season, develop guys. The young guys are playing excellent. They just need a bit of an older guy in there, like a LeBron, to just be like, hey, settle down. Let's get a couple good possessions here and get the ball back on track.
Yeah.
Like,
I really don't think like he obviously. I feel like he'd be the type of person to like want to go back to Cleveland or Miami, but I also feel like he's the type of person who wants to win in his last season, especially because like that would really put him like really in the GOAT conversation between him and Jordan, make it even like a
I
harder
don't think
case.
it. I don't even think it's. If he wins one
I don't think
more,
it's about that, but I
it.
feel
But
like
I would. I will wage. I will go out and say this. I don't care how many times he's lost in the fight. If he wins one more, and you think Jordan's better, you should not be talking basketball. Like, there is no possible way you can watch these two careers unfold. If LeBron gets one more, and then it's 5 versus 6. Like, that's the last limb you can stand on. Is like, Jordan's 6-0, 6-0. It's like, dude, I don't even care. Like, you cannot tell me. And I'll go out and also say this: LeBron's probably not going to be the best player forever. Like, there's a really good chance it's this Wemby dude. And if it's not him, I don't know, dude. Every 4 days, something pops up about like, have you seen this guy? He's 9'9" and he's 12 years old. From God knows where, or Serbia or something like that. It's like, dude, they're creating these guys in a lab. LeBron is by far the GOAT right now, but he's probably not going to be the GOAT forever. And if I'm going to tell you that Jordan is not the GOAT, but was once the GOAT, and LeBron is very clearly the GOAT right now, then there's going to be someone that comes up. That's the evolution of the game. That's how it works. And that's like, damn, I want someone else to be the GOAT. Because I want another face of basketball. I'm 25. I'm going to be watching until I'm gone. I'd love for another 70 years to have someone to be like, this guy's the GOAT. You know?
yeah. I also feel like they
I
need
mean,
some.
did you watch that Spurs Knicks series? I don't even like. Have you watched those Bulls Celtics series back in the day, Jordan? Dog, the way these guys are playing now. Forget about it, dude. That's all I gotta say. Just like forget about it.
Yeah, I would say also in the finals, the Spurs were. You could see the lack of experience and like how they needed to vet down the stretch, and I feel like that's perfect for LeBron. Like if they had him down the stretch this past year, obviously that's a massive if. Um,
You could
but
replace like 9 total De'Aaron Fox minutes with 9 LeBron minutes, and they'd have won the series.
it's true.
Like, I on it. Like, all right, that's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but like, if we're being serious here, like, the Spurs still should have won. The Knicks, the Knicks, great game plan, great performances all around. The guys that they needed to step up. That was awesome. Shout out to Cat. What a series! Silenced a lot of the doubters. But at the end of the day, it's like could run it back tomorrow. I still think the Spurs are a better team. Now you add LeBron to that and Tobias Harris to that. Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah. Now we'll get into the John Morant Trailblazers trade. Um, I it's weird. I don't really have much to say. I think so. The Grizzlies got Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. That
I've always been one, even when the Nets had Harden, Kyrie, Durant, Aldridge, and
Blake.
whoever else was filling out that roster. Even then, I was like, people were like, "There's only one basketball. There's only one basketball to go around." I'd be like, "Yeah, dude, who cares? Have you seen who's on this team? It doesn't matter." I look at this Blazers roster right now, and I'm like, my goodness, there is only one basketball. like, I just, I don't. Ja, Dame, Drew,
Yeah.
and who's the fourth guard that I'm in? Ja, Dame, Drew. Um, I'll look this up right now.
Scoot Henderson.
And Scoot Henderson, and I'm like, of course, because I'm a fool. Because I'm a big believer in Scoot still. I
Me
don't
too.
think I'll ever fold on that, even if he sucks. But he's getting better. He showed a lot last season.
Hmm.
He's big league. But Ja Morant does as much as I do on the floor when the ball's not in his hands. Dame, you know what Dame is, and like hopefully he comes back healthy and is still that guy. Like that would be great. Dame used to be a buck, but I just for general reasons, I just hope he's back to being Dame. Scoot Henderson, after taking a year and a leap, is now going to see less of the ball in his hands. And who's the fourth guy that I just
Drew Holiday.
and then Drew Holiday, like he'll play great defense, but there's a Luca. I mean, you and I might be able to score if Ja and Dame are on the floor at the same time. Like I don't, and then you lose Jeremy Grant, so it's like okay, either Donovan Clingan showed that he is the best shot blocker on the planet in the offseason, or they have no defense and 4 guards who need the ball in their hand. So, like, I want Ja to bounce back. I would love that. Like, it's like he's a highlight reel. You go back and watch his tape. It's like but the
Yeah.
numbers don't look good, man. His 3-point shooting has gotten worse every year. His athleticism has dropped. Has not shown to be a team leader, so he's definitely not a locker room guy. Never really had any defense to his game. So, like, what was his thing? Man, that boy could get to the cup and create
Yeah.
for his teammates. And if he can't do that, especially if the ball's not in his hand, like that's when the Grizzlies were good, when they were honestly running like heliocentric Ja offense with like some shooters and like a few capable playmakers on the side.
Yeah.
I don't understand what this Blazers team even is.
Yeah. Speaking of like Ja, like saying like going back to looking at his highlight reel, I think the most like entertaining team a couple of years ago was that 22-23 Grizzlies team. They had Jaren, they had Dylan Brooks, they had Bane, they had Ja, they had Brandon Clark. They were so good. Um, and I really feel like ever since the whole Ja thing happened, it just went down. Desmond Bane got
Well,
traded, Brooks got traded, Jaren got traded, now Ja got traded.
coach fired. Now he's the
Yeah,
Bucks coach. It's just like what about the way that scenario unfolded would lead someone to believe that is like I don't even mind trading for Ja because you don't have to give up a lot and the potential upside is high.
Mhm.
But they aren't the team that I think that makes any sense. Like I mean,
Like he goes for the Warrior or not
I
even the
think Shaden
Warriors.
Sharp is good. I don't think he's gonna take that leap that they want from him.
Hmm.
So like, I mean, Tamani Kamara, he's a great defender. Is he ever gonna develop the offense that makes him like more impactful? I don't think so. I think Klingon's a good shot blocker, but I don't really think he's like Klingon to me is honestly Nurkic 2.0. Like he's a big body
Oh,
down low.
yeah,
He can do. He's a better shot blocker than Nurk. I'll give him that for sure. Um, but just like big body guys aren't very fast. Like I felt the Jaw trade killed what the Blazers were building more momentum toward.
yeah.
You know,
I feel like I've seen a lot of people complaining about the Nets having so many guards in their rosters. I feel like we should be paying more attention to the Blazers, who actually, they made the playoffs last year. And
I don't think it's possible that the Blazers start the season with the roster that they have right now. At least one of the guards has to get
mhm.
traded.
I honestly
Like,
feel they should have gotten traded in that Jaw trade instead of like Jeremy Grant. I feel like they could have
well,
traded
that's
a
what I
guard
was
there.
saying. Is I was like, if you really wanted Ja, why not just send Scoot in the deal
Or Drew
or Drew
Holiday.
Holiday in the deal? Like, I just
Yeah.
think you keep Drew Holiday because both Dame and Ja are both Combs, so they're like, all right, we need a defender in the backcourt. You know, um, so I
Yeah.
don't know, man. It's
Uh,
very interesting, but I don't like that trade for anybody.
yeah. We'll move to the Lakers whole thing here. So they got Quentin Grimes, they released LeBron, and I don't even know what to say about Walker Kessler. So they did a trade and sign. They traded two first round picks and two first round pick swaps, traded for Kessler, and signed a 4 year, $130 million contract for a 23, 24-year old big shot blocking center. And then they traded Aiton away. Um,
Well, I think you had to move off of Aiton. Like, I just don't. I think Aiton is just so far from a winning basketball player. Like, I cannot imagine being on that guy's team.
oh, they also
Like,
got rid of
there's
John
that story
Collins.
that came out that it's like the Lakers training staff was like taping up his water bottle with like DeAndre Ayton's crunk juice, drink to unleash the beast to keep him motivated. And I'm like, this dude is so gone. Like, we're taping up water bottles with like fake secret formulas to like unleash the. This is like this reminds me of when Cat said like 2 years ago that he was like, I'm watching videos of bears wrestling before the game to get myself in the right mindset. And I'm like, you fucking like, you guys are losers. like I hate to say because I know you're like rich, like 1% of basketball players on this earth. Like you guys have great lives. I'm not, but it's just like, dude, you're about to go play a basketball game and you're like, I'm watching bears fight before. How about just play hard? How about go play hard because that's what you're paid to do? I'm not waking up in the morning like, yeah, man. Just want to get after it today, so I'm watching violent, scuffles in the zoo.
Yeah,
Like it's just what are we talking about here, dude? You're not going off to fight in a war. Like you got to box out. That's all we're asking. You actually just have to box out. You don't. It's not. You know.
yeah.
I just think that stuff's so silly.
Um, I don't know what I was gonna say. They also got rid of Jackson Hayes. I don't know what to say about him. I feel like he has potential. They just didn't use it. Um,
Honestly, I think the Lakers with LeBron and Luca made Jackson Hayes look better than anyone else on planet Earth will manage to do. Like It's like when Larry Bird always says, he's like, I will never pay anyone or sign anyone that has played with LeBron. And you're like, why? And he's like, because LeBron makes them look like they're good basketball players, and they're sorry as hell. Like, I think Jackson Hayes is sorry. Like, he's not good. And yeah, when LeBron and Luca are in that pick and roll with you, it makes it, a lot of Showtime dunks. But it's like, yeah, because they're drawing two like every time. Like if the guy in the pick and roll with you is, Davion Mitchell, it'll be a lot less dunks, my man. Like a lot less highlight reels. But happy for Jackson Hayes, obviously.
Um, yeah. So then we'll get into all the Clippers stuff. Um,
Who'd they
they
just sign today? They just signed Rui.
yeah, they did. So they traded Kawhi to the Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, two first round picks, one first round pick swap, and two second round picks. That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Honestly feel like the Clippers got the better end of the deal. I mean, they had three first round picks and two second round picks, plus a guy who's starting to come down a little bit with Brandon Ingram, who's obviously not a bad basketball player still. And then Grady Dick, he just plays in the G League. Um, and then obviously
Well,
Kawhi going back to Toronto is, it's cool to see him back in Toronto after doing what he did a couple years ago. And people are always fantasizing like, what if he had stayed an extra year? Um, Obviously, it's not that same Raptors team with Kyle Lowry retiring, Siakam gone, Van Vliet. I think everybody from that starting lineup is gone now. Um, so I think it's going to be different. Did they make the playoffs this
I
past
think
year?
the Raptors are going to be really nice this year. I, again, am worried about them being a true contender because although Kawhi will certainly help the offense, I still don't think they have enough. There were, because I think Scotty Barnes is awesome, but I think he is like I think we're starting to see like pretty close to his final form here.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe he develops something, but like I still think they are going to need shooting, 3-point shooting, and I still think they need a dynamic guard. Again, someone like Pirtle's great. I think their defense is going to be spectacular. Um, but I still think they need to score the ball, and I don't know that they'll have enough.
Um, we honestly forgot about talk about Walker Kessler going to the Lakers.
Mm.
Um, I think it's good for him. Obviously, he's getting that he's getting the bag that he want. That well, he obviously wanted, but I don't think he really earns it. Also, from the Aiton trade, they got Jaden Hardy, and two second round picks, which I think is pretty good for the Lakers.
I
Um,
mean, I feel like Walker Kessler has been available the last 3 years, and every other team has been like, "Yeah, we're not giving you that much." But
yeah,
here comes in Rob Pelinka, and it's like Rob Pelinka operates in this way of it just feels like he is on Twitter all day, and he sees like a graphic that's like, "What's Rob Pelinka gonna do to put the Lakers on top?" And he's like, "I gotta make 6 trades today."
yeah.
No, don't show me the cap sheets. Don't show me the contract. I don't care. I want this guy. I'm getting him. 4 first-round picks. Walker, yeah, sounds good to me. 130 million, yeah, let's do it. 350 million tied up in Kessler, Reeves, and Doncic. Yeah, I'm sure that'll help us build around those guys in the future. It's like let's keep in mind here. I like Austin Reeves, but like the last couple of years in the playoffs, he's awful. And you just gave him a ridiculous contract. Austin Reeves is going to get paid $41 million next year.
That's crazy.
I watched the same playoffs you did. Last 2 years. Was that a $41 million a year performance? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
Like I'm not knocking anybody getting their money. I'm mad at Rob Pelinka. I ain't mad at them. I'd have taken the same deal.
Now we'll go to the Timberwolves Lamelo thing. Um, Lamelo and Josh Green to Minnesota for Nas Reed, 2033 first round pick, three first round pick swaps, and three second round picks. Um, I feel like when you look at it, you look at LaMelo and Anthony Edwards in your backcourt, and you're like, this is one of the best backcourts we've seen in close to a decade. Um, but then when you really think about it, who is gonna? I don't know how that team is gonna operate because Lamelo's gonna want to take all the shots, and Anthony Edwards is gonna take all the shots. I don't know
I
how.
think they'll be able to work because, like you saw in the playoffs this year, like Randall just wasn't good, but every team was just like, hey, why don't we send all five guys at Edwards? Like, who cares? Someone else has to score, and like they just couldn't score enough. Now, granted, there was a lot of injuries to where there was only so much that could really be done. But the Wolves had to make a move so that other teams couldn't just be like, yeah, just double him all game, all 48. Yeah, just throw two
Yep.
guys whole time. And you can't do that anymore now. So, like, I also think the Wolves took a bit of a step back defensively with this move. But I think they can increase their scoring output. I think it's going to be I think they're gonna have to mildly try to tweak their play style to being a bit more focused on outscoring other teams and maintaining a top 8 defense. Um, but I think that they could have a top 3 offense. I'm not saying they will, but in theory, I think that they could, especially if DiVincenzo comes back healthy towards the end of the season and is able to, play and hit the three ball at a reasonable clip. I like this move for the Wolves. I also think one thing I do want to make clear is LaMelo plays winning basketball. He just does. I know, like, yeah, man, you can go clip select plays where it's like he's not really taking it that seriously, but he hasn't played serious basketball since he's been in the league because he's been on the Hornets the whole time. And up until last season, where they were better, but it's not like they were a contender. You know what I'm saying? Like, LaMelo could have averaged 50, 20 and 25. They're still not winning any. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So I think like I think he is a winning basketball player. I think he plays hard. I think there are things that will be cleaned up very quickly about his game playing meaningful basketball in Minnesota. And like I want this I don't know if they'll win a championship or nothing, but I do think that they're going to be I would not be shocked in the slightest if you get a Wolves Spurs Western Conference Finals next season.
Yeah. Um. Now we will go over to not the biggest like blockbuster thing, but I think it's something to notice. Um, Santi Aldama to the Mavs. Um, Obviously, I always keep saying, I've said this to so many people, that the Mavs are going to be a good team next year. Kyrie's coming back. Vlad's coming off of a great rookie season. They have Aldama. They have Lively. I think they still have Gafford. Max Christie had a good season last year. I do think that they definitely will make the playoffs as long as obviously everybody stays healthy. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see and hopefully exciting to see what Kyrie and Flat could do on the court together.
Well, one thing I that just intrigues me that I could see is I could see a Kyrie LeBron Cavs reunion with a trade now that Harden declined his option because or even a sign and trade. Harden for Kyrie or something like that. Just because it's kind of the same thing with Kyrie, where it's like he could have an amazing season, but the Mavs are not going to be able to compete with those top three teams in the West.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it's the Spurs, the Thunder, and the Wolves, and then depending on sort of how the Nugs shake out, I think are far and away the top four teams in the West. And honestly, I think it's those three teams, and then the Nugs. And so, like, Kyrie could be incredible on the Mavs, but I just don't like. If I'm the Mavs, I'm like, just keep developing these guys. You're not going for a championship this year. You
Hmm.
already made your Luca trade. You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with the fallout of that and how it's going to shake out. And like maybe you have to rebuild a little bit with younger guys, but you're not going to be competing. Whereas like if you get a situation where like LeBron, Mitchell, uh, Mobley, and Kyrie in Cleveland, I think the defense would still be. I don't know if the defense would be good enough. I mean, they still have Jared Allen, and I also think
Maybe.
that's the other thing is like, like? I don't. I think the Jared Allen Mobley experiment. I think they got to trade Allen. Like, I don't think that's gonna work. We've seen it not work for 3-4 years now. So maybe there's a situation where you get like a Jared Allen and I don't know, like Allen and some guys, Allen and Harden, and a sign and trade for like Gafford and Kyrie. I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I don't know how if it would work, or even if the CBA would allow it. But that's how I feel about the Mavs.
Yeah, I think Aldama, he's pretty good. He's a decent stretch. Four? Is he 4 or 5? I think he could go either. Um, we already talked about Robinson to the Celtics. Uh, Draymond declines his player option. Harden is a free agent. And then just today, the Kings waived DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that. So where does DeRozan go? That would be interesting. Because like
I
I
think he
don't
doesn't
know
have
that
much left.
DeRozan impacts the game that much at that. Like I think he's gonna get his. If you're a team who like really lacks post scoring, I think you could throw him in for like 20 minutes a game, and I think he'll give you, maybe between 8 and 14 points or something. Um, but I don't think like DeRozan to me has maybe 2 years left.
Yeah. I just want to another one of the Kings. Um, I truly think that they got a steal with Darius Acuff.
Think so.
Um,
Interesting.
as
Why do you
a
say that?
I'm a Nets fan, and when the draft was happening, I was hoping for Acuff. The dude is being compared to Allen Iverson, and people that are now paying attention to the NBA are seeing it. His first few games in summer league, people are really seeing how it's compared, and he
Well, I yeah.
his build's a little weird. He's like too short for a guard, but then like for point guard, at Brooklyn they have so many, and Jaeger Demon has a great rookie season and is gonna. I feel like he's gonna be really good this year. Um, but I really was praying that Acuff would go to the Nets. I feel like he's a bucket getter, and I feel like another reason why they might not have taken him, they just got Randall, and they have MPJ who is, well, Michael Porter Jr. Like they, I think honest, I really don't want Michael Porter Jr. in Brooklyn as a Nets fan. I feel like I don't think that he's a bad basketball player. I mean, he's obviously not the best, um, but I feel like Michael Porter Jr. not being there, if you trade him in that Randall trade instead of Claxton, I feel like that's a lot better. Because then you now need a bucket getter. Because Randall, he is good, but he's kind of ever since going to the Minnesota and his last like year in New York, kind of taken a big decrease in scoring. I feel like, and Darius Acuff he's so good, and obviously Mikel Brown hasn't played yet so far in the summer league. I think he plays tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. But I don't know. I have to see how Mikel plays, but so far, I would say the Nets really missed out, and the Kings got very, very lucky with getting a cuff. And although that team is not the best, I don't even know they have Sabonis, who's okay. Now they don't have DeMar, they have Levine. Um, I don't even know where that team goes from there. Um, but I feel like another guard from the draft, Darren Peterson. He's I have a hot take about the Jazz in the next couple years. I think the Jazz will make at least the second, maybe the third round of playoffs. You look at that roster, they have Peterson, George, Jaren, Lowry, and oh my god, Ace Bailey. That team is going to be so good for the next few years. Although Jackson isn't and Lowry aren't the youngest guys, I don't think either of them are even 30 yet. George had a great season this past season. He really stepped up, with obviously with the whole team not being very very good. Um, I think Larry Markkinen for the past few years in the Jazz has. I mean, he made an All Star a couple of years ago. Um, Jaren Jackson is Jaren Jackson. He is, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year. And I really like Jaren. Who else? Ace Bailey. He had a great rookie year. I feel like next year I think he'll even be better. And then Darren Peterson he's a stud. So I feel like the Jazz are definitely going to make it. I would think deep in the playoffs over the next 2 3 years.
I don't think that quickly. I think the Jazz will get back to being good in about 5 or 6 years. Give me Darren Peterson's next contract when I think they retain guys like George and Bailey. Um, I think the Jazz will be good post Lowry, and I just think that the timelines don't fully match up. But I do think the Jazz will get back to being good because I like what they're building. But I don't think in the next 2 to 3 years that they'll be ready to compete with those teams at the top of the West, namely like Spurs and Thunder. I don't see them stopping right now because I don't yet think other teams have rosters that they've built that can compete with their depth and like honestly energy. And the way they play is just very high level, efficient, energetic basketball. And I don't think teams are quite yet ready to do that. And I think a large part of it is because that's like a top down cultural thing that doesn't just change in a year. Um, and so we'll see how. I think they will definitely get back to being good, though. I think it'll just be on the secondary contract for a lot of these guys when they start picking like who they really want to dish out the money to. Because I don't think in the next 2 years they'll be able to compete in the second and third round of the playoffs. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they made the playoffs in the next two
Yeah,
years.
I definitely got a little ahead of myself there. I do agree. Um, I could definitely see around the 5 year mark of Peterson. Um, I do definitely think that either next year or the year after they will make the playoffs, um, just based off of you know their young, really really young core, um, and I'm hoping that they're able to just share the basketball like I feel like they should because like none of them are like superstar level or like
I think Peterson's a good
even
defender
star. Yeah,
too,
I
and
think
I
none of
think
them are
that'll
even star
really
level.
help with.
So I feel like there really shouldn't be a problem with like if they were like Peterson and George. I think there really shouldn't be a problem with that because none of them are stars yet, especially with Peterson being a rookie. Give
Yeah.
it a year or two, maybe then it's Darren Peterson taking the lead for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like for right now, it really shouldn't be a problem with everybody getting the basketball. Ace Bailey, Lowry, Jaron, George, and then Peterson. And I think even Taylor Hendricks coming off the bench isn't the worst thing ever. Um, but yeah, so that's really what I think about Acuff, Brown, and then with the Jazz.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that.
yeah, that is about it. So I think unless there's anything you want to talk about,
I think that covered pretty much most of the moves.
all right.
That at least that I was focused on. There might be a trailer or something out there, but I think as far as things that will impact the way the league looks next year, I think that covered most of it as far as today.
Yeah. All right. So this will be the end of the episode number 5, Bloodline Basketball. Um, Hopefully next time we're back there'll be a LeBron signing, or hopefully some more blockbuster trades that happen. But for right now, this is all we got, and we will see you all
We'll
next.
also be able to talk about the new guys in summer league because
Yeah.
um, that'll be starting up. So,
All right. So I'm gonna end it right now.
all right.